It's Wednesday the 18th of March. We start off by going straight into oral questions, but noting the fact that the House have been sitting this morning and the final order paper might end up being adjusted because of that. But questions, the first two, Simon Bridges to the Prime Minister and asks, does she stand by all her government statements and actions? Tamati Coffey to the Minister of Finance about the government's economic package. Paul Goldsmith to the Minister of Finance whether he stands by all his policies and actions. Jan Tinetti to the Minister of Education about support to schools to deal with COVID-19. Mark Patterson to the Minister for Regional Economic Development around the use of the Provincial Growth Fund to help respond to COVID-19. Michael Woodhouse to the Minister of Health asking about details around the testing for COVID-19. Todd McClay to the Minister of Economic Development about whether the government stands by its policies in relation to economic development. Priyanka Radhakrishnan to the Minister of Social Development about MSD initiatives as part of the economic package announced yesterday. Todd McClay to the Minister of Tourism about whether he stands by his statements. Louise Upston to the Minister of Employment about likely numbers becoming unemployed as a result of COVID-19 and especially how many under 25, and Andrew Warren Clark about the influenza vaccination campaign. After oral questions, we'll have the first general debate for 2020, then the second reading of the Appropriation 2018-19 Confirmation and Validation Bill, which sort of confirmed some unauthorised, unappropriated expenditure, and that's the second reading, but it doesn't have a debate. Then we get on to the abortion legislation bill in the name of Andrew Little, the electoral registration of sentence prisoners amendment bill, first reading, the regulatory systems transport amendment bill in the name of Phil Twyford, and if we have time we'll get on later this evening to the organic products bill, first reading in the name of the Honourable Damien O'Connor. Finish at 10 o'clock tonight and the House will sit again at 2 o'clock tomorrow.